So now let's start looking at what are the questions that has come, and then let's answer it. Okay, so now Steve Parker is asking, is there a size limit for the REST API post? Steve, no, there's no size limit for the REST API. When you buy when you have the only restriction is, see what happens in this. Actually, there's no restriction in the on-premise edition. When you have the on-premise, when you have this ePiro running on-premise, there is no restriction. The restriction is basically whatever the heap size you're allocating to this ePiro server. That is the only limitation. But software-wise, there is no limitation. Okay. So the next question is from Chakradhar Tirumuru. What specific Heap Dump formats are supported by ePiro? In our org, we are using IBM JDK. The format is PHT. Yes, Chakradhar, that's a good question. ePiro supports all formats of Heap Dumps, including IBM's JDK's PHT format. Okay. Ted Reed. Hello, Ted. How are you? One more out of memory error. OM killed when heap. Yes. So heap memory killed when heap and non. Yes. So I thought I had it included in my thing. OM killer. Let me. If not, it's a. Yeah. I see. Ted, maybe I have included it here. Maybe this is what you're referencing. Out of memory, kill the process or sacrifice the child. Okay, if this is not the case, let me know. Okay, so now Saurav asks, what happens if server itself doesn't have free memory for Heap Dump? See, my friend, Saurav, server does not need to have that much free memory. It just needs to have disk space. It needs to have storage to write it. And if it does not have sufficient storage, let's say you're running on a very large heap, like say 64 gig, and that means your Heap Dump file size is also going to be 64 gig. You only need storage. And if you don't have the storage, yeah, then Heap Dump cannot be generated. But you don't need additional 64 gig memory to take a Heap Dump. Okay. Ted Reed is asking, I'm certain you can do the same in the classic server design as well. Setting the heap to 8 GB on Linux VM would cut the crap out as well. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Ted. So Ted is once again asking, I see YC316 is Linux, Windows, Mac. Is there a container version? Yes. So Ted answer is yes. So this YC360 script, right? You can run it on you can run it on Linux, Mac, Windows, Docker, Kubernetes, OpenShift, and we're also in the process of enhancing it to support to Fargate. And once again, as I told, this is a GitHub open source script, right? So if friends wants to contribute, you're most welcome to do so, right? Okay. So now I'm moving back. Sapan Uday says, he says, spot on, Mr. Ram. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Sapan. Sandeep Patel says, on out of memory, if we configure YC360 script wrapper, when we configure it to JVM, whenever out of memory is sent by JVM, it will trigger the script. But the dump, okay. Sandeep, you're asking, yeah, very good question. Sandeep is asking a very good question. What Sandeep is asking is, so now let's go back here. So we are saying, we are configuring this out of memory error. All right, on out of memory error, you're configuring the script. So when you trigger the script, what happens is the script, by default, it's going to capture you the 360-degree data, bundle them as one single zip file, and then drop it on your container or the server wherever it is running, right? That is a default behavior. And then what you have to do, you have to download it, and then you can do the analysis. But friends, this YC360 script also has an advanced capability. What is that capability is? It can bundle them as a zip file, and then it can directly push that zip file also to this Ycrash server, so that the bundle doesn't drop in your production server. So whenever out of memory happens, it's going to capture the 360-degree data, and then it's going to push to your server, to your Ycrash server. So the data comes to your Ycrash server. So on your production server, there's no data present. So now when it comes here, the incident is created. Now we can do the analysis. It's very powerful. Rather than be waiting for anyone to, or waiting when the out of memory error happens and whether to capture it. This one automates several things. When it happens, the data is captured, it's bundled them up as zip file, and then moved from your production server to your ePro Ycrash server, and the data is available for you. Okay. So which is very, very powerful way to automate it. Okay. So now Pradeep Raghavan Kadirvel is asking, is it possible, do we have same kind of class for CPU utilization? My question, yes. Pradeep, I'm not sure whether I fully follow your question. Maybe, is it possible, do we have a same kind of a class for CPU utilization? My question, if you apply parallel algorithm, will we have any effect on the behavior pattern? So, Praveen, I don't know. Pradeep, maybe you want to explain a little bit more. Maybe I'll try to answer. I'm not following the question. Okay, Ronnie So EPRO report does not have a shareable link similar to the QC report. Is something you can add? See, Ronnie, if you see the EPRO report, what happens is, we do have a shareable link. What you can do, you can just copy this link. See, I'm just copying this link. And then you can put it in a Jira ticket or email attachment or anything. Then it will work. Right? You don't need to, like in GC, you don't need to click on share link. You don't need it. You just copy the URL and then circulate it. It will work. Okay. So, Karthik Kumar Patel, in which scenarios can Heap Dump be triggered, but Heap Dump file is not generated? Okay. So, Karthik Kumar is asking a question. Okay, I'm triggering Heap Dump, but Heap Dump file is not generated. What are the scenarios for that? Karthik Kumar, maybe it's because of battle injury for asking this. I can see that. So there are few reasons. Reason number one, there is not sufficient storage on your machine, right? Then it's not able to write. That is one reason. Second reason is, when you're triggering Heap Dump, what if when a JVM is writing to the disk, at that point the JVM crashed and it exited, the Java process itself exited? Then you're also not going to see this. And then the third reason, say, I've seen people, they use a JVM argument, Heap Dump on out of memory error. That is, there's a JVM argument called as Heap Dump on out of memory error. When you configure that, whenever out of memory error happens, automatically Heap Dump is going to be returned into the disk. What if there is already a Heap Dump file is there in the same location? Right? It happens. Say if your JVM is having a crash again and again, maybe it happened first time it wrote it. And next time when it's trying to write, already there's a file in that path. So then it will also short circuit. So Karthik, these are some of the reasons. Okay. And now I'm moving on to Gaurav Bhagat. How ePro is storing sensitive data got from Heap Dump? After analysis, whether the data is being destroyed. Okay. So Gaurav, how Heap Dump is storing the sensitive data? See, Gaurav, if you enable that heap, okay, there's two options, right? So Saurav's question is how we are handling this data securely, right? See, Gaurav, a friend, what is his name? Yeah, Gaurav Bhagat. So, say if you are, look at this screenshot. See, this is how the sensitive information is present, VAT, social security numbers, all those are present. And when you turn on the Heap Dump sanitization capability, it's a special flag, you need to turn it on. When you turn it on, look at this. We sanitize the Heap Dump. We read your Heap Dump in the background. We evict all the sensitive data. and then we remove it and we put it as asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. So you will not see. So this is one option. The second option is there is also, you can also configure an auto delete capability. That is, to this ePro server, you can configure delete all heap dumps which is more than 30 days old. I don't want to store old data. You can just, that's a configuration you can specify. Auto delete after 30 days, or you can configure 60 days, or 7 days, or 24 hours. When you configure, any data that is more than 24 hours will be deleted. Okay. So now Sapan Uday asks, hey Ram and team, thank you for the session. Very informative. Would it be worth understanding possible automated monitoring controls that can be configured and alert teams about the health of the heap to pick up utilization trends? Can it be done? Sapan, yes. 100% yes. So Sapan is asking, is there any kind of a monitoring we can do so that we can, instead of now after reacting to the problem, once the problem happen, can I proactively see whether what's going to happen? Sapan, answer is yes. See, look at this. Look at this, my friends. Your out of memory error gets thrown here when it reaches the ceiling limit. But right here, when a garbage collection keep on running, but when the garbage collection keeps on running, your CPU is going to be 100% utilized, and your JVM is freezing. It will freeze. So any transaction comes, they're not going to respond. So, but if I start monitoring, if I start to see the GC activity picking up, I don't have to wait till the end for out of memory to blast. Right, several minutes ahead itself, I can predict and forecast you're going to have out of memory error, and I can take an action. So for that only, there's a metric called GC throughput. The GC throughput tells, say during good times, the GC throughput is going to be at 98, 99, 100%, or close to 100%. When it gets here, it's going to start to degrade from 99%, it's going to become 95, 90, 85. Like it will start to degrade. So if you monitor the GC throughput, you can predict memory problems very early in the game. And we are trying to attempt to do this. Right? So we are trying to build a real-time monitoring of these micrometrics. But right now we are seeing a lot of false positives when we do real-time monitoring, because even minor arbitrations, incidents getting created when it shouldn't be. So we are trying to fine-tune the implementation, but you can look at this one approach, what you can take. Okay. So now Steve Parker is asking, OOM killed. I assume that that is where the container kills the JVM due to container limit. That said, externally killed. This is usually Kubernetes thing. Okay, Steve Parker, the OOM killer is pervasive in Kubernetes in the container world, but it also happens in the traditional bare metal world as well. It does happen. See, when there's a lack of RAM capacity, or let's say your application is running, some other cron job comes and it runs. Now, the kernel may kill your Java process because it tends to consume a lot of memory. It may terminate. So it is getting more pervasive in the container world, but it happens in bare metal VM type of world as well. Okay. How does this tool compare and stand out with other heap dump debugging tool? So Gokul Raj, if I talk about it, it will be like I don't know whether it can be highly opinionated, but anyway, let me tell some few highlights. Right? How this compare and contrast with other tools? See, the number one thing, all other tools that what you are talking, I don't want to mention the names. They are all desktop tools, thick clients. You need to be installing the tools on your local laptop, and then you ought to be doing the analysis. What if your laptop does not have sufficient memory capacity, RAM capacity? How are you going to analyze, right? And then also how are you going to share and collaborate? Whereas this ePro tool, you can run it on your local laptop, or you can install in a central server, and everyone in your organization can use it. right? That is one differentiation. And other difference is the UI. Our UI, the visualization, as you are seeing, it is pretty intuitive, right? And then it's much easier to navigate and look into the data. See, we have this graphical visualization. There's a table view, and all those other visualizations are very natural, very intuitive. And then the other tools don't have the REST API capability. They don't have the remote downloading capability. And using this recipe, you can integrate it with your CI/CD pipelines, right? You can automate your heap dump analysis to a very great extent. And other tools don't have that heap dump sanitization capability, right? This sanitization capability, they don't have. And then I can, and then there are several more different, like doing this 360-degree analysis. If it's other tools, they can only do heap dump. Whereas our Y crash, it can do all the analysis, all type of logs it can analyze, and then it can get to the root cause, right? And then architecturally, we are solving one security problem for you. Heap dump is now getting dispersed in multiple places when you use the other tools. Whereas when you use ePiro, Y crash, ePiro, heap dump is just in one place, secure place. We bring in a security to a very great level. So these are some of the differentiators. Okay. So now Ted says, Kranti Kumar says, when sending heap dumps or logs to Ycrash server, is it data as anonymous? Can it remain fully on-prem? See, Kranti, our toolset runs on a public cloud, or it can run on-prem as well. When it runs on-prem, no data leaves your network. Everything is there in your network. We don't have any access. So all of them remains in your place. But if you're going to use our cloud version, of course, data is going to come to us. It's going to remain with us. So both organizations don't want to do that. You want to do on-prem troubleshooting. Okay. So Ted says, acknowledging, says, thank you. Thank you, Ted. Okay. Chandra Chakradar Tirumuru is saying, this may be slightly out of scope. However, how to troubleshoot GPF faults, general protection faults on some shared libraries? This indicates native crash likely triggered by marriage. So Chakradar, I'm not. I don't know. I don't have an answer for you how to do this one. I don't know. Right? Sorry. Okay. Srihari K. Your sessions are really good. I have purchased your course. I'm still working on a finish it with, and examples are too good. Thank you so much. So thank you, Srihari. We're very honored, humbled to hear this feedback. Thanks for purchasing our course and taking advantage of it. Thank you very much. Gokul Raj says, how do we detect string deduplication taking a lot of heap space? Yes, Gokul Raj, how we want to do that is, you want to do garbage collection log analysis, GC log analysis. So Gokul Raj question is, how do we detect whether string deduplication is taking memory or whether it's reducing the memory or not reducing the memory? Gokul Raj, you want to do garbage collection log analysis. When you do the garbage collection log analysis, now run it without string deduplication flag. See what is the memory consumption there. And now then enable the garbage collection log, enable the string deduplication. Now study the garbage collection log, whether there's any drop in the memory. That is a way to do. And I had a very, very interesting experience with the string deduplication. We thought it will save memory when we enabled it on a, and it did not. So let me share that blog for you when time permits. Take a look at it. Yeah, disappointing story on memory optimization, right? So this is about string deduplication, what had happened. I'm going to put it in the chat. So you can look at it offline. You can take a look at it. Okay. So Pradeep Raghavan Kadirvel is asking, sorry, The actual question is on GC algorithm. If I tune GC or parallel algorithm, do we have any changes in the behavior pattern, like the graph for CPU utilization? Do you have webinar? Like, yeah. So, Pradeep Raghavan, when you change the GC algorithm, let's say from parallel G1, ZGC, or whatever algorithm you change when you switch, yes, there will be a difference in the CPU consumption and the memory consumption. There will be. Based on GC algorithm, your footprint varies. There is no doubt in that. But if you're having a memory leak, right, it doesn't not matter which algorithm you change. Finally, memory is going to pick up, and then CPU is going to be spiking up, and then you'll see a CPU 100%. So when you have memory leak, it doesn't make any difference. Which algorithm doesn't make any difference. But in a normal, if you no memory, if your application is healthy, at that point, using different GC algorithms has a different GC and memory consumption. So in my previous webinar, I spoke about what is a different GC algorithms and what is the overhead of using each algorithm. You may want to refer to that. Okay. So Mallika Arjun Malge from LinkedIn is joined and is asking, I've registered for the full training. It is helpful. Only concern is we have only access only for 1 year and we can download it. Okay, Mallika Arjun, thank you for registering. So we'll take this feedback and we'll see what we'll try to address it. Okay. Okay. So Sandeep Patel is asking another. I have a container in Faggot cluster. For that, do you need to put the script inside the container and run it, or do we have that via Docker? So Sandeep, you have both the choices, right? When you are going to use the container, right? See, Sandeep's question is, when I'm using the Docker container. So should this YC360 script should run within the same container on my target application, or can it run on the host, or can run on the sidecar? So we can support all the three options, Sandeep. So let me share this link in the chat. You are welcome to use whatever you want, whatever the choice fits your corporate governance, corporate requirement. Okay. So Gokul Raj is asking, also any pointers on how OM scores are done by the OM clear process? So Gokul Raj, I don't have any specific pointers, but I don't have specific pointers, but in general, when there is a lack of RAM capacity, JVM kills, the kernel kills the process. And typically it picks the process which sounds like a rogue process. So in Java, if you set XMX and XMS as a different value, that means the Java memory is going to go up and down, up and down, up and down. And typical Java process also tends to be large in size. So that becomes the main target point for kernel to kill. Okay. How do you define rules to obscure sensitive data? So Marku is asking, how do I define the date? How do I define rules his question is, how do you define the rules to obscure sensitive data, right? In the Heap Dump. So Marku, we don't have any rules. Any data we obfuscate. Any data which is there, we remove. We don't look at, this is SSN, that we remove everything. Okay. So Sandeep Patel, okay, as addressing Gokul question, okay, is answering. There is a config in JVM that will reduce it. Yes, Sandeep, yes, there is a string. There is a argument called as this use string deduplication. When you configure this, duplicate strings will be evicted from the memory. Okay. Okay. So now. Yes. Karthik Kumar Patel. What happens if out of memory occurs and heap dump is being generated, but Tomcat restarts during the process? So Karthik Kumar, in that case, you'll lose, heap dump will not be generated. So Karthik's question is, I'm trying to take a heap dump. At that point, Tomcat restarts. That means heap dump will not be captured. Itesh's question, yes, use string duplication is the flag to reduce it. Okay. So Gokul Raj, yes, he's acknowledging that. Okay. Will JVM make difference? This two configuration. Will JVM makes sorry, will JVM makes our difference between these two configuration? So, Sandeep, I don't know whether I fully follow the question. So you're asking which one to pick in the container. Is that the question? Whether should I use XMS and XMX, or actually X min RAM percentage and max RAM percentage? Sandeep, actually, I will use XMS and XMX because the way I see, and in fact, like min RAM percentage, if I'm not wrong, that is also used to define only the max size XMX only. I will use XMS and XMX. It could be opinionated because the way I see this is based on my JVM size, the container should be sized. It's not the other way around. It's like for my body, based on my body size, I'm going to buy a small, medium, or large size shirts, not the other way around. Right? Okay. So yes. So Ted is answering it, right? So the min RAM percentage is also, when you say min RAM percentage, it also defines XMX only. So as Ted is pointing, you may want to use initial RAM percentage. Okay, so my friends, I think we are more than top of our time limit. Probably we have to
We
wrap up
have
the
one
call.
more question, Ram,
Okay, there is one
from
more question.
Romel
This will be the last
Paras.
question we'll be taking in. Are there any new features coming in? Like, so which objects are not being garbage collected? So yes, Romal. See, Romal, this is already supported, right? This is already supported in ePro in Romal. We can configure an option. If object does not have GC roots, we can eliminate it. There's a configuration you can pass. Then you only see only the alive objects, which will be alive even after the garbage collection survival. Okay. Okay, my friends, I think with this, we will wrap up this session. Thank you very much for making it very interactive. There are a lot of questions that had came in. We will connect with you in yet another session. And as I told at the beginning of this talk, if you have some interesting stories you want to share with this Java performance and troubleshooting community, feel free to reach out to us. Okay, we will invite you to speak in our webinar series. Okay, thank you, my friends. Bye.